शेयर में शेयर में नहीं।
आगे
क्या आगे?
Oh, नमस्कार।
You can start.
Okay. Namaste. I'm Kamlesh Kapur again. This is going to be an interesting journey because this is what in our ancient philosophy it is said uttarmimansa, which means that you have evidence and what you have collected, praman, now you are drawing a conclusion or inference. The other way around, what the Europeans did was they created a hypothesis and then they made some kind of anuman. So, and then they frantically researched some loan words here, there, language similarities, and a whole lot of this thing. We are not going to do that because we are going to collect the evidence of civilization. And where was it likely to start? How early it could start, given the time frame of the deluge and the ice age and ecological changes and the geography of the place as well. Okay, so this is the Uttar Mimamsa type of approach, and no hypothesis. Wherever the evidence leads us, we start. If the more evidence comes to predating our historical recording, then we are going to be predating it. So I am not the final word. Having said that, let us see how we collect the evidence. Now, this is the time frame created by 15th, not 16th century Western thinkers, actually 17th century, let us say. They had barely discovered that the earth is round. I mean, that is how profound they were at that point. And they coined racism, superior racism, races, inferior races, who is going to control. And it was a control mechanism for resources at that time. Later on, they realized that not only they can control and rule those tropical countries or islands, but they can also borrow their ideas and make it digest it as their own. So this date is very important because everything when they start 5,000 years ago, as if magic happened, and 5,000 years ago, and the whole civilization all over the world started. Why they put this date? Because they believe 4,000 years forward BC, on a Monday, 9 a.m., the world was created. Voila. Now, if it was 4004 BCE and 9 a.m., that means there before the creation, there was a concept of the naming of the week, Somar. And then there was a concept of number system that you went 4004 exact. And was there a calculator? Anyway, dismissing that, this is a very important thing for the students and the teachers to understand that this is the biblical framework on which history of India was framed. And Indians, after independence, ruled by all kind of idiots and incompetent people, they accepted it as if this is the superior truth. Now let us see the key elements of historiography sources. There are primary sources, which means they cannot be altered. They are there. And all you have to do is prove it and show it, and show their credibility by cross-referencing evidence from multiple disciplines. Previously, all this Western historiography leaned on literature and linguistics, and they did not take any evidence from other sciences. Sciences, I will mention later on, what kind of information you can glean, not from social sciences, but from the other physical sciences. So then you sift the evidence. This is the way of historiography, that you find the evidence, then you find the credibility by cross-referencing, and then you sift the evidence, that this is important, this is not important, this is to be highlighted. And then a lot depends on the approach of the writer. So some kind of academic sincerity is absolutely essential for this kind of thing. Why? Because if I am biased and I'm compiling, then I will omit those kind of highlights which I don't want to believe in. And so sincerity of the writer, you don't question the sincerity of Vyas, who composed Mahabharata. Why? Because he was there. He was an eyewitness. And what he wrote, what he was seeing. Okay. Now, distinction between primary and secondary sources. Now, Veda is primary source. Fossils of plants, that is hard evidence. Fossils from the horses and cows, that is hard evidence. So geological makeup of the mountains and the layers, how much time it took for one layer to be accumulated on the other and made a huge mountain, that is hard evidence. That is primary source. What is secondary source? Secondary source is a person came from, say, Khusro. He came from Arab countries, and he did the Chronicle. So that Chronicle that he produced, actually, that is secondary source. He did not go to the primary sources. He went to what he saw. So it was his commentary on the general atmosphere. Now, Bhagavad Gita is a commentary. That is a secondary source. It came much later. Whereas Valmiki's Ramayana is a primary source, because Valmiki was there at that time. So, and eyewitness account is primary source. Hard evidence which cannot be altered or muted, that is primary. And secondary sources of Michael Witzel's or Wendy Doniger's opinions and speculation and bias. So this is the key element that every teacher has to understand, that the students know the difference between that. If ABC News says that chauvinistic Hindu Prime Minister of India. Now, in this sentence, you see the opinion, the bias. What is the need of giving adjective? You don't say Christian French president. You don't. Why, particularly for India, it is necessary for anybody to say, give the adjectives. And same thing follows in the entire history. Akbar the Great. Akbar, and these people do not understand languages, and they make all these, headlines. Akbar the Great. Akbar itself means great. It cannot be great the great, right? So all these adjectives are subjectivity. That means it is my opinion he was great, and it is my opinion others were not. So we take the evidence from glaciology, geology, ecology, geography, paleobotany, astronomy. These point to the rise of civilization to at least 10 to 8 million before Common Era. So, where were the countries such as Greece, Rome, Egypt, China, Japan? Where were they? And that is important to know. 10,000 years before Common Era, what was happening to all these countries? Greece and Rome, they were near Mediterranean, so they had some kind of early civilization, traces of that. Egypt also parts of it, but the rest of it is desert. Babylonia, Sumeria, they were desert countries. In between, there were valleys of a couple of rivers. And China is facing north of Himalayas. They are north of the Himalayas, which means equator is behind them, and they are looking at North Pole. In other words, they are north-facing country, whereas India is south-facing country. So likelihood is, as China itself says, we don't. In America, they say Chinese is the oldest civilization. Chinese recorded history started about 2700 something BC. So, and Japan is an island, always rocked. It's in the ring of fire, and that geography has not changed. So, this mythical home of early civilizations, Germany. Germany is part of the Alps mountains, and they were Goths and tribes, and they lived like, tribes, going down valleys and then going up to do the cultivation or survival. Now, this is the best evidence anybody can have. I always, wherever I go, I tell the whoever organized the event that please have a globe, because globe is the real replica of the earth, much more. Now this is the tropics where India is. Let's make it a little higher. Why it's not coming? Okay, it is the largest landmass. Then there is America, Central America, and that is not so so climate friendly or topography friendly. One side is Andes, one side is Rockies, and everything is sandwiched here. So this is not you can do terrace cultivation, but not a stable civilization or contiguous civilization. So antiquity is very important. And here we have retreating ice age. This whole thing is, what should it be? Now we are talking. So where should it be? Now you see, this is where the whole thing is. So this is geographical evidence. Now this is the crisscross of rivers, right here. This crisscross. So the major mountains and glaciers, they are the source of multiple river systems. Ganges has its own tributary, a lot of them. All of them are right now in flood area, flood mode because of the monsoons. So, river systems of India, I'll show you the map. Most of these are actually all of them major systems. They are perennial rivers. You have Kaveri, entire southern area. Wherever you go, this is Kaveri. What is Kaveri? Kaveri is the main river in which all the other rivers trickle down and ultimately merge. It makes beautiful falls. It goes through all the south. And people say that this is plateau and desert and nothing grows there. I mean, this is our Indians' ignorance and laziness to accept nonsense, and for the others to say anything is their business. So rivers of Egypt, one river, and Egyptian civilization. You won't believe in the third grade curriculum, they take 5 major civilizations. 3 months, they only talk about Egypt. Mummies this way, mummies that way, you wrap it around. Now this is the chemical, this is the doll, this is the pyramid, now you place it in. About 3 months. Huh? Then the Chinese civilization. And then what about China? They don't know anything but Chinese civilization, how they lived. And this, how they lived comes from Marco Polo in the 13th century. From there, they are going back that this was also there, 2700, Common Era, before Common Era. So all these nonsensical things, we have to straighten. If I decided, I actually appealed to the intellectual scholars and intellectuals of every country that please join me in this correcting the historiography. Nobody answered me. This is one of them said, "You are not qualified." And then I decided that if you think I am not qualified, then I will show I'm qualified. And that is the first time all these sources were taken into account. And I did not start from any arbitrary point. I started from wherever it led me. If glaciology tells me that Saraswati River was there 7 to 8,000 years before Common Era, I believe so, because there is a map of the underneath channels, dried up channels. You know, in Hindi they call it Bareta. When the rivers shift or they are covered by the seawater and the delta is submerged, and the patterns of the rivers from where they went different channels, they leave a clue about the channels. How many rivers were there? They are not there now. So deserts following the arable land as rainfall pattern changes, a lot of things happen. So it is not just the climate changes, many other things. The seawater rises, not because humanity has done something wrong, that, you know, they were not driving cars at that time, that it was pollution which caused. No. The climate changed because the ice age was melting. I mean, there is something like sense, common sense, and nonsense. So saying that the pollution was the cause of deluge, or humanity was sinning against the earth, this is not even childish. It is foolish. Okay. Now this is the paleo channels. See, this area became desert. Parts of Rajasthan, parts of this Madhya Pradesh, even some parts, mainly Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi also. So because Saraswati River, which is going all over there, it was depleted. Yamuna River is right here, it changed the direction. It changed the direction because of the earthquakes and all kind of shifts in tectonic plates. So this river was actually merging here. So instead it went this way and made the confluence with Ganges. Satluj was also going to Saraswati. And that is why in Vedas, they say mighty Saraswati, largest of the rivers, not Indus, Saraswati. So this valley was, and now that it has become partly desert, but underneath with satellite imaging, with new tools, devices, they are able to see how deep is the paleochannels and how we can bring it up. And this is during the Congress regime. Manmohan Singh also said the same thing. He is a PhD, was. And he said that it's a mythical river. You see how sad it is. That at least do some research before opening your mouth. So he rarely opened his mouth, but every time he did, it was some kind of stupidity. Then the British said great desert. Now compare this great desert to Gobi Desert, California Desert, Arabian Desert. How great is this? How great is this? It's hardly a few hundred square miles or 1,000 maybe. Anyway, so this is how the plates changed, earthquakes came. And in my lifetime, Ganges River has changed its course. At Kanpur, when I was 6 years old or something, it was right there near Rani Ghat. An electric supply company had hydro power plant. And when I went in 1948, I visited the same place. Ganges had moved away. And by the time 1956 came, it had moved so far away that the plant was lying in the desert, sand. So if it can happen in my lifetime, you can imagine what can happen during the millennia-long history. So this area, by the way, this map was created by a French person. Later on, Kalyan Ramanji started, taking interest and traced these things, and quite a few scholars. But this original map was 18th century map. So I don't know how he created. So other sources are ecology. Ecology is environment. Now the part played by North Pole and the Himalayas. Anything north of the Himalayas mountains is tending to be colder and shorter summers. And anything facing the equator, like India, it's a reverse case. So Indian history first written during the age of reason and superstitions. So the Britishers, the Western writers, when did they start writing history? The age of reason had not started yet. It started with Voltaire and Rousseau and the superstitions, that anybody who disbelieves in Bible should be tortured. And I saw the torture chambers. Racism, inferior race, slavery. And this is not it is Bertrand Russell called this. So I wouldn't dispute his observation. So geology, I already explained that it was mightiest river, but then changing course of rivers and how the things happen. Marine archaeology. This is the contentious issue. In 2010, when my book came, some of these holy scholars from Indian that historical society, historical research, ICHR. So they criticized me that Dwarka is dated 1425 BCE. Whereas, so Dwarka was contemporary to Sri Krishna, and Mahabharata. So therefore, Mahabharata is dated 1425. And people started writing articles, rebuttal of my book, just on one thing, because I dated it 5100 based on other sources, cross-referencing. So this is Indian scholars who would not think deeper or take the other person's word to verify it. All I am asking is not to take my word, but go further. Since the ice age was melting, we were going through Holocene period, and Indian Ocean was also submerging, eating away the coastal area. So soil erosion was happening because of what they call deluge. So one deluge happened after Mahabharata, and that was about 5100 around 5200 years before, and that is dated also. So that city was now. That was submerged. That doesn't mean that on the land a new city was not made. Another city was. Then near Jaunpur there is another city made, and that is what they are calling the Dwarka of Mahabharata. Whereas my contention is that since the marine archaeology has proven that there were round structures of cement, rocks, which was like a wheel holding the city structure or houses. So if it is 120 meters away, that means that was earlier Dwarka. And later on, when that was, it is mentioned also that it was submerged. It will be part of the deluge. And that is the deluge that the Bible is talking. So now, if you go to further into the ocean, you will find several structures submerged. Not just Dwarka. In the south, there's Malappuram and many other. Even Ram Setu, there was a land route from Rameshwaram. You continued about a few miles into the ocean, and then there is a bridge. Now that land area after Dhanushketu and Rameshwaram is submerged in water. What can be the proof? The proof is that the waters are rising, not because of my sin or your sin. It is just happening. Nature. Several layers of structures have been found and submerged. Paleobotany. Paleobotany is study of plant fossils, and they have found in Lahore, they were near Bihar, rice with and without husk. Now, how monumental is this one find if it is for? That means the people at that time not only knew how to cultivate rice, but also how to bring it to eatable form, polishing it, you see, by beating the whole thing. And then there were other agricultural grains, jav, and that was cultivated, makkah. Many people say makkah came from Mexico. And what to say? So makkah is a Sanskrit word for corn. And this paleontology is the fossil remains of animals. So the horses, the cows, and stuff. So Ram Setu, I have already explained the archaeology and how much was submerged. And this is still there. And if you say that Ram Setu was not is not an evidence of Ramayana, then what is? So there were shrines, there were peeth. Peeth was a small little patshala, like Gurukul. Mat was like a high school university. Gurukul was where all of these were together. The early ages, later ages, college. So temple structures. Temple structures came much later. Kushans started making them. And those structures, they have temple structures have inscriptions on the pillars. So history is written in stone. So if history is written in stone, what magic is needed to bring it to the forefront? I read the inscriptions, I saw them, I took the pictures. I spent 3 months in the southern India just to study. Then there are etched seals. Etched seals are where, the mountain carving is on the mountain. Then there are terracotta figurines. And all of these are evidence, archaeological evidence. And look at this now. This is Kalsh. It is dated about 6,000-7,000 years back. And this is etching in the mountain, Shiva in yogic pose. This is etching, carving on the. And this is terracotta dice. So talk about civilization. Chaucer was the name, then Chaturangani was the name, then became chess. These are and this is the chess set. And this is found in Lothal, near Gujarat and that area, northern Gujarat. So these are worn out edifices of earlier chess set. So what more do you need? Arts and sculpture. So temples carving out of mountains. This Trimurti is carved out of mountains. Ajanta Ellora caves carved out of mountains. Many of the monasteries are carved out of mountains. So that kind of skill was there. In fact, one of the persons from Turkey was quite ancient, so it must be. From Turkey, a guy came and he says that these kings know how to chisel like a jewel. And they are, it's so perfect that the necklace, the small little beads are visible and looks like as if there is a gap between the neck and the mala, necklace. So outer walls. Now, this is where the destruction started. Outer walls of the temples, they depict whatever happens in the world. There is war, there is family life, there is farmer's life, there is different components of army, the palaces, all kind of things. Everything is etched or carved. Beautiful sculpture. And the Muslims said that, we are aroused by these nude sculpture. And they started cutting and chopping and destroyed many of them, disfigured. So, but what it means, it does not mean that people were dirty-minded. They were realists. They said that all of these things exist in the world, but the inner sanctum is which is called Garbhagriha, where the divine is in the dark. You have to open the gates of your real eyes, and you can have a glimpse of that. So you see, it is not the deeper philosophy. So these things have to be studied, not just quoted. One of these days, it will make a fascinating journey, go and study the temple structure, and then their paintings and themes. Now, paintings, marvelous, on the ceiling, and all were natural colors mixed with resin and limestone. and they stayed. Even today, 5,000 years after, many of those paintings, they are immaculately maintained because it has a binding and the shine of resin. Now, linguistics, there are words. You see, Sanskrit words like sa, sad, sa, sta, ja, jatya, ja, jana. You see, these roots made several words and they are common to many languages. So, like stan, and then there is the word in Yugoslavia, there was a city, Sarajevo. Actually, J silent, Sarajevo. But actually, it was Servier. The word is Servier, Sanskrit word. And same thing, Herzegovina. Herzegovina. Oh, what's so difficult about it? So languages are, now the question is whether they brought Sanskrit to India or Sanskrit was later taken there by Indians. So out of India, migration meant pan-Asian cultures. All those Buddhist scholars, Jain scholars, Hindu scholars, wherever they went, they took their language in a dialect form. Gradually, it matured into a grammatical language. So, mention of the word in literature such as Chakori, Mayur, Ashwa, Rath. If Chakori and Mayur are not part of the fauna and flora in Europe or in Arab countries, how can we say that Arab countries were, the earlier civilization? So common assumption is that the human speech is like a tree. There was one language, from there became Sanskrit and European language, and then many other languages developed. That is not the tree shape. It is many dialects were there, thousands of them. They merged together and then they become common language. So this is how, this is not the Pi. Pi is there was a Proto-European, Indo-European language. Who wrote that? Where is that? Do you have a single manuscript or hard evidence? No. So, European origin of Sanskrit, Rajiv Malhotra has written a book, Battle for Sanskrit. So, because the West is claiming that Sanskrit was developed by, was the language of Germany, of all places on earth. So, actual human experience confirmed it's more like a prayer. How many languages have disappeared in my own lifespan? Multani, Sargodi. You see, these are languages, these were languages. And some of them were had a script also, like Sandhi. So now we don't have it because some other languages swallowed. Hindi was swallowed by English. So we have to retrieve the language to understand. The other day I was decoding a ghazal, Urdu poem, and there was a word Nayas. And I was figuring out that what does this mean? And I found the Persian word has Sanskrit root. Nayas means nirasha, no asha. Very simple. And then the rest of the sentence made a lot of sense. So literary works reflect surroundings, specific regions, ecological conditions. Everything is given in the Vedas. Veda is a geography book more than anything. Prayers aside. Dried river beds, confluence of rivers. This gives us a lot of, pilgrimages, places, and who came there. Weather patterns, varying climate, Ritu. This is mentioned in the Vedas and everything else. There were 6 different climate zones, and there are 6 seasons. And then there are hieroglyphs. And recently, the government of India woke up and they established Namami, National Mission for Collecting Manuscripts. So as more and more manuscripts come up in literature, linguistics, we have more literary proof of antiquity. Now, what else is there in literature? Akhyans, narratives, itihas, past events like Puranas and genealogies, gathas, short stories, narasamis, eulogies, and then bards and charvakas. These were roaming singers who would sing in the praise of the king. And they will say his ascendants were such and such person, and these were the glories of that person. In fact, it brings out the ancestry tree. You see, they build up Puranas and bards and charvakas orally. They build up the ancestries, continuity of kingdoms and dynasties. And Rig Veda is the oldest book. And the science in Rig Veda is amazing. I have just glanced through it with my very limited knowledge of Sanskrit. But I found the word bhugol. That means in Veda and Vedic times, they knew the earth is round. Bhugol. Even today, geography is called bhugol. Brahmanda, meaning galaxy. It's the shape of a ellipse. And then in Shastras, Visheshika, there is Anu, atomic particle, Parmanu, subatomic particle. And then Darshan Shastras, 6 of them, they elaborate it further into booklets, pretty dense books. What I'm saying that the evidence is there, and it may take lifetime of several generations to dig up completely. But the tools are also developing now. So clinching factor is astronomical charts in Sanskrit literature, which is all poetry. Why I'm saying all poetry? Because poetry is least corrupted. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. It was the same as today. It hasn't changed at all. Whereas prose is what you narrate, right? So since it is in poetry, Gayatri Mantra is still the same from the original Vedic literature. And so is all the chanda and all the rhapsodies and rhyme schemes. 56 rhyme schemes are recognized by scholars today that existed in Vedas. Rhyme schemes. How many rhyme schemes we have in English language? 4. A, B, like that. So it was that advanced that Pandits hardly know 1 or 2 rhyme schemes. If you tell them to read this, they won't be able to, because that's a different chant. So in 2002, Dr. Kalyanaraman, he proposed the idea to display the text in Sanskrit with translation. And then he also said that the sky charts, which were explained by Valmiki and later Vedvyas, that sky chart rarely changes. It doesn't duplicate, actually. Rarely changes is wrong word. It doesn't duplicate. So the dating of the epic is fundamental in establishing the historical chronology of ancient history. Vedvyas, who wrote Mahabharata, observed the sky inscription from the banks of river Saraswati. He was contemporary of Shri Krishna. So the data of Mahabharata now is crucial, that Kali Yuga started when Shri Krishna was 11 or 12 years old. And now Kali Yuga can be dated 3100, 3102. If you add 2025, then you can see how far back Mahabharata was, Kali Yuga was. And Kali Yuga overlapped the previous Yuga by 60 years. So that brings us approximately to the crucial research was done by Dr. Narhar Achar, and he helped me figure it out, being a non-computer, non-mathematical person. So he helped. And there is a ICER Institute, Institute of Scientific Research in Vedas. And I participated in one of their annual meetings, and I met many scholars in the field of genetics, in the field of paleobotany, every field. By the way, genetics point out that in the last 15,000 years, no gene pool has changed in India. So there goes the entire invasion theory, the new blood came, new civilization started, nonsense. So this gentleman, member of the parliament, you can read, best clock for dating was the sky itself, positions of the stars. You see, the horoscope kind of thing. Dr. Kazanas, I met him also. He says it is good to have confirmation from archaeoastronomy, since heavens doesn't lie. So, very good sense of humor. Heavens doesn't lie. So let us think of this. Now, somebody questioned me that you think that Majumdar, a great historian, did not mention all this. You are better than him. I say, no, I am not better than him. What has happened that satellite imaging has started. So we are able to see the ecology and understand it better, the river patterns better. So not only satellite imaging has brought out the evidence, throwing it in our eyes, there is a C2 method, carbon dating method. So carbon dating determines now this is cross-referencing. This is what the sky says, this is what the carbon dating says, you know. I don't know if I have time. I keep going on and on. There is a funny incident that there is a wooden grave of some saint, Christian saint, and they said he came there in 2nd century BC, Saint Thomas, and he started Christianity there. And his grave is in near some place in Kerala. And it's a wooden grave. Now, can wood last 2,000 years? Obviously, it was made by Portuguese when they came. To give it antiquity, that Christianity preceded Buddhism or this or that. Anyway, so finding the evidence, satellite imaging, and collecting it, cross-referencing. Now, theories versus empirical data. Einstein said, if you give me theories and empirical data, I will pick up the empirical data. In 2006 was a landmark year because suddenly BBC admitted that race was invented by, and all this antiquity of India was determined on that base of imperialism. And then the theories, all these Aryan migration theories, American scholars, English scholars, they went on uproar. And PBS aired a documentary, and some character, Michael Wood, he went to Calcutta to see the Vedas. Then he ran by train to Arabian deserts, and he found on the sand a horse. Wow. What a miracle. What a journey. Hmm? What indicated to him that go to Arabia and find a horse? Horses were native to Sindhu region. Rath, horses are famous. And horses were everywhere. And so the horses, the pie, the Indo-European language, and blah, blah, blah. And you see, it is like making mud, collecting mud and making a mud house. So ICER is still working very hard. And there are 3 books they have produced, dating of Ramayana era, dating of Mahabharata, and dating of Vedic era. I have all 3, haven't read fully because very complicated sky charts. You have to be astrophysicist in order to understand them. But the gist of it is that the skies don't lie. Thank you very much. It was a very long, I guess, very long talk. So escape. And now if you have any questions. Okay. Yeah. हाँ हाँ गुरिंदर जी बोली करण unmute yourself, unmute.
Hey,
हाँ
namaskar. Me? Okay.
okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for this enlightening discourse on DG. I'm curious, so many good things. I'm curious since when you started this wonderful journey, years ago to today, do you think the world has changed in any way in terms of acknowledging there's been a lot of archaeological findings? You'll go to yoga centers are everywhere. Um, it's amazing that you set the record straight at the time, and you continue to do that. How do you see today's science and academic curriculums now?
They haven't.
Mm,
They did not even touch the book. They did not. In fact, they criticized that iron was not found. So how can you say Mahabharata was in 51? Actually, iron was found in every kind of natural mineral. Iron was there, and they knew how to isolate it. You see, how to isolate it. So copper and bronze were used for bhala and for the gear because iron might isolate. Otherwise, if it gets rusted, the bhala will fall like this. What kind of war will be? So this was one thing that, and then the second thing was dating of the Mahabharata. It is 1400 something. And one mathematician said to me in a conference, he says, in good conscience, I don't know where conscience comes. In good conscience, I would not touch this book. So this is the kind of welcome the Indian historians showed. And Western, of course, they are always talking about child infanticide and sati and polyandry and blah, blah, blah. You see? So if our own people are so lazy, and I should say mentally allergic to knowledge, you see, even at this point in life, I'm 86 years old now. At this point in life, I also check if the book is this big, well, it can wait. If it is 100
mm,
pages, let me read it. You see? So that
yeah.
kind of my stage has come now. But people at the age of 16, they see 5 minutes social media message versus an article. So as a result of all this, even before that, history, the way it was taught in my times, Bible's Babur's chest was 46 inches, and he could hold 2 human beings and run on a fence. What is this about? What does it tell me? History is not the story of dynasties. History is the march of civilization, evolution of culture, and how people lived and contributed to civilization, wisdom, creating literature. It is their story. Ashoka the Great, who cares? He won empire, destroyed it, well, so be it. So somebody created all these temples, yes. Somebody is creating even today. What a big deal. No, it is the march of civilization, the antiquity of civilization, the continuity of civilization, only surviving culture and civilization. And contiguity, that it is spread to Java, Japan, China. You see, philosophical links, temples, Vishnu temple in Angkor Wat,
Mm.
and Java, Bali, Sumatra. What are these names? Challe, Malaysia, Malay,
Mm.
Malay Dweep. You see, Maldives. Maldives is what? Malay. So we are lazy. We are everything is linked with the dhanda chal raha hai. Dhanda. The business is working and we are
Mm.
better than the next door person or in the community. It is face up, chin up in the community.
Mm.
Not as a total community, but as an individual in community. My house, my clothes, my fashions. You see, it is that kind of culture that I am seeing for the last 100 years. I am myself not a follower, I am a trendsetter. Something which is not done, okay, let's do it. It needs to be done, let's do it. If I can finish, good. If not, well, so be it. So that kind of motivation should be there.
Mm. Yeah. No,
I
thank you. That
challenge you. I
uh-huh.
challenge you if you give me a child of 5 years old or 4 years old, 3 days in a row for 20 minutes, I will make him a believer in Sanatan Dharma, in Dharam, and make it a relevant thing to current situation. Why it is eternal law? Because it was relevant then, now, and thereafter. So you have to really go deep down. Sorry.
No, thank you. And you outlined all of this in your book for like the child discipline, the child development process, and it feels like an uphill battle because of I think what you said with the limitations of thinking are correlated to the limitations of the language. So like we have, like you said, 52 ways of rhyming versus four. We have so many ways of saying happiness, whereas it's limited in English. So it feels like an uphill battle. But yeah, thank you for sharing all this.
Thank you. Any other person wants to ask? No? No one? Who else is there? Chat.
Namaste, Kamlesh ji. This is Pankaj. I just wanted to say thank you very much for all the effort that you put in.
Oh, I think I met you in one of the Pankaj.
This is Pankaj Kapur.
Oh, last time जो सेमिनार हुआ था उसमें देखा था नीरज.
उससे उससे पिछली दफा मैं आया था. लास्ट टाइम मैंने मिस कर दिया था.
अच्छा,
जी
क्योंकि मैंने आपका नाम सुना था. हाँ, विशाल और नीरज वगैरह सब मेरे साथ ही थे.
जी
So,
जी.
अच्छा. So, you have a question?
नो मैं आपकी दाद दे रहा था कि thank you very much, that I really appreciate you've done so much work throughout your life, and you still continue to do this. And I know many people give up. It takes a lot of effort and patience and dedication, and I feel you're very fortunate, and more than that, I'm more fortunate to be able to listen to you.
Thank
uh, so I just wanted to say my appreciation, and I wish there were more people listening to you in this class.
Well,
uh,
So
I also wanted to know if I know this is being recorded. Where can I see the recording from last time's class? Is it going to be online somewhere or
It is on my website, I think.
on your
It is
website?
also on YouTube.
It's live streamed, so you can always check on the channel.
Okay,
Let me post a link. Yeah.
great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
hello, Auntie Ji, namaste. This is Naresh.
Yeah.
Very, very enlightening talk. I have your book autographed by you, but listening to you always gives me more than just my own interpretation from reading. I wanted to get your idea of how to take this work forward and what else we can do because even in India, when I studied history in NCRT growing up, right, they were focusing more on Mughal history, and then war for independence. It focused on certain names and families who supposedly helped India get independence. So I think slowly truth is emerging there. Things are changing in the history books, but how to take this work forward and popularize it? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm not a marketing person. But
It's a
I am
marketing effort.
a very
Yeah.
serious researcher. I
Yeah.
would not put my name on anything where either the academic integrity is not there, that I'm truthful to myself, what I've seen or learned. And I am also fearless in the sense that whatever is right, according to me, either you accept it or you challenge it. But do not make bogus excuses. You see, weaving cobwebs, a spider can do, and we are human beings. So let's not be,
Yeah.
and you are quite a motivator, I tell you, because starting this series, I asked you that I'm revising my first edition and including the Indian government curriculum guidelines. And you said you started, and if you can finish, we are there.
Yeah.
So that was,
I'll be in touch with you. Yeah. In the coming
yes,
days, I will be in touch with you.
yeah. I
But,
want more people to be oriented into this kind of thinking. That people eventually go. So we are just like sands in the grain in the sands, and winds always blow. So if I'm not there, nothing is lost. Things are there. Somebody will finish. Somebody should be motivated. And the best way of the way I want to see Indians here, make a think tank. So far, we have not made a think tank. Two persons think themselves as rivals instead of teammates. So, no endeavor. I'm amazed that I could do it solo. But if there was a team, we would have done a better job probably, or sooner. So, my message to the younger generation, next generation is be honest to yourself, be motivated. And don't go for fads. Things come, things disappear. They are things which are not real, mithya. Don't go after that. Go after that which is churning reality. Reality is the same, it churns itself. So the principle of recycling, reincarnation, everything is included in this, that kind of thing. So
thank you. Thank you, Auntie, for your
the
guidance.
next
Yeah.
one will be evolution of civilizations. No dynasty's business. Such a such king was great. They were great. They're not here. But the
Yeah.
civilization they created is here. Okay. I think Rajiv ji, that's enough.
Yes, we are done for today. Thank you.
Okay, I'm done for today. Namaste ji.